I'm gonna try again. I'm host Eric, host Turk and Finish People. I'm gonna try again because I am here making a video at Denny's. I made one already. The first video, that was pretty good. This video is a little bit different. This video is supposed to be the second part of a second video that got interrupted by phone calls about the ENTPs, their inherent hypocrisy, and their unfair advantages. So I'm going to start that topic over and try to do a good job of it this time. And do it as follows. Number one, I was born privileged. I think a lot of ENTPs are, at least metaphysically privileged. They say loved very well, cared for very well, for their early childhood. Now, that creates a sense of a just world in the ENTP, and they feel appalled when they encounter something that's not just. According to which mechanism, according to which epistemology, you might as well just call all these cognitive functions different epistemologies. That's really what they are. They're different ways of knowing things. That's what epistemology means. It's this philosophical study of the ways of knowing things. And those different epistemologies are ways in which we interface with the world. But one of the key elements about them is that TI and FI have an individualistic epistemology, whereas FE and TE have a group-based, because the individual is the metaphysical reality of agency, whereas the group is the physical reality of agency. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that before. It's probably true. For whatever extent it makes sense, sure. To whatever extent it makes sense, it's true. That's quite a claim, Eric. Oh my God. Who says things like that? Why? Why do you do that? Okay. Like some sort of blanket disclaimer that says, okay, well, it might be bullshit, but for whatever extent it makes sense, it's true. Oh, this is a ridiculous claim to make. What are you gonna do with that shit, right? Okay, I guess I should take it seriously then? Anyhow, here are the unfair advantages. Basically, we can beat TI people on a short-term level, at their own game. We can beat TI on tactical level. They're just not that quick, because if you're a TI Dom, you're going to be ploddingly going through the process of something, thinking it all out and building it all and making sure it's all sound. Now, any TI is stronger than TI in any kind of battle scenario in which you might be able to test something that is discursive anyway. Now, it's basically, the ENTP is very amazingly strong TI at doing the little TI job, and it also has good endurance in doing the little TI jobs. You can do little TI jobs for a long time, never get tired, but you can't do any big TI jobs without getting exhausted fast. That's my TI. In the short term, in like a debate or something like that, it's short-term TI. It's the whole point of a conversation like that is that it's referencing a defined set of variables within a defined scope of time and or number of arguments on the floor or something like that. Whether it's an informal or formal debate, they all do that. It's just that people who aren't used to any sort of formal debate, they don't understand that's what's happening. And they don't think of it in those terms, but they still reference it as, because they know it's there too, and they still reference it, and they still act as though it's there for their purposes, but they don't quite get what they're doing, I guess. So the point being, TI is used for that purpose, where you're constraining in terms of time and scope the argumentation. Well, that's what we're going to be best at. So. Okay, so this one unfair advantage is being better at TI people than TI Doms for all intents and purposes. Now, that's assuming you care about social stuff rather than the actual shit, right? The other one is FE. Well, guess what else? ENTPs are better at They're better. Eric, come on. They're better at FE than FE DOMs or second people. For all intents and purposes, again. We're not actually better at it. We don't actually have the skill. We're not as deft. Same with the TI. It's like we're better at on an outcome level. Like FE people who are really good at it are too careful, so they don't actually get to reap the benefits of FE because they're not practicing it enough. We practice it more than anybody else. We're willing to make those failures, and so we get better at it than most people in terms of actual net outcomes. And somebody might be an INFJ, have a lot of people like them, but that doesn't mean that they're getting maximum value out of it, I suppose you could say. I don't know. Now, in exchange for these unfair advantages of the two modalities that are the most important in modern life for competing one way or the other, we get them both strong, and in fact, our natures are such, because we have SI so bad, that we end up becoming stronger at them for all visible purposes than the people who are supposed to be the experts. They're unfair. But here's the inherent hypocrisy. We don't seem to generally understand that we are forcing everybody else to operate on a TI continuum when we deal with argumentation. That's how argumentation works. It is, in fact, introvert thinking. It's conditionality and what that means. Oh, well, if you say this point is true, then that other point over there is not true because it's conditionality. Well, that's fucking TI. So we're insisting everybody else evaluate every decision and their statements and stuff on this plane of TI. But we're narrowing the scope of it to make sure it's tactical TI rather than strategic TI, which is our specific area of strength. And then we're aware of the fact that these kind of discussions inevitably hinge on some FE shit going on, like hierarchy shit and burn and whatever else. And we insist on keeping it lively and active and moving forward without a lot of time for people to respond because, well, that gives us an additional advantage on the FB grounds because we're driven first and foremost by the improvisational function, and we are maximally made flexible by a limited tether to SI, so we don't get too tethered to what already has happened. We're aware we can pivot out of that and go into something new. We sometimes get accused of weak SI, but we always remember exactly what we said when you didn't know what it was. And we always remember exactly where we need to go and where we've been when it comes to argumentation. It's when I'm explaining shit randomly I lose track of what I'm doing. People try to tell me, I'm like, oh, it's because you're going off on a tangent. No, it's because you don't want to be pinned down. You don't want to answer a fucking question. Anyway. Those unfair advantages are great, but then when we force people to be exactly on the field that we want to fight on, where we're most successful in most areas, and have everything precisely narrowed to our advantage, and somebody doesn't behave properly in that capacity, then we go, unfair! As though we didn't already make it impossibly unfair for anybody to come and hang because it's all sculpted specifically to our advantage. Yeah, so that's kind of hypocritical of us to be all, you can't say that because that's not right, and all this shit. But who cares? It's fine. I don't know if I got this video up or not. It was fun making it. Kills time here at Denny's. I'm gonna go back home now. I wasn't on GTM today at all, Denny's. I was making videos like this, talking to people the old-fashioned way. But uploading a video to YouTube. Thanks for watching. The first artifact sold. When will the next one go up? I don't know. Right now, you can't even buy a TWFP artifact. There aren't any for sale. Taylor, who bought the first one, he was smart. Smart and lucky. He was one of several who tried to buy it, but I didn't have the. The marketplace wasn't working at first. When I put that thing up yesterday, it was broken still. So I had to fix it, and then I guess Taylor was the first one to get back in to try to get it. It didn't stay up there long. Be smart. Listen to me. Understand the truth and the nature of the words that I'm saying. Smart people will buy into this marketplace idea early because it's going to be by far the most profitable part of targeting famous people, and it's going to be hugely successful. It's going to take a few years to maximize, but once it does, people who were in early are going to be very happy they were. Goodbye. Thanks for talking with me. Goodbye.